Boucheron. I mean, the name itself just sounds like Parisian luxury, right? High jewelry. But what is it that turns a piece of jewelry from just, metal and stones into a legend? Well, today we're going to peek behind the curtain to find out. We're going to look at the story, the innovation, and the pure boldness that makes Boucheron, well, Boucheron. And to kick things off, we've got to start with a number that tells a story all by itself.
4.7 million pounds. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the estimated auction price for one single piece of jewelry. And this is the piece right here, the Julia necklace. It was made back in 2009, and it is an absolute masterpiece. We're talking over 400 diamonds and more than 1,700 sapphires. And get this, it took a mind-boggling 1,500 hours to set every single one of those gemstones.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth can one necklace be worth that much money? Well, the answer isn't just about the carats. Nope, it's actually woven into 165 years of history, of wild innovation, and of a really powerful vision.
And it all starts with one guy. To really get Boucheron, you have to get its founder, Frédéric Boucheron, and you have to understand his obsession with one thing above all else: light.
See, when Boucheron opened its doors in Paris way back in 1858, it wasn't just another jewelry shop. Not at all. From day one, it was like an innovation lab. They were pioneering techniques that totally changed the game, like creating these incredible necklaces that looked like they were just floating on the skin with no clasp in sight.
And the brand's history is just full of these genius moves. I mean, opening in Paris, the absolute heart of luxury. Then, that super strategic move to Place Vendôme. They even gained so much trust globally that they were asked to value the entire Iranian treasury, and it stayed a family business for almost 140 years.
And that move to Place Vendôme, it tells you absolutely everything you need to know about his philosophy. Frédéric Boucheron didn't just pick a fancy address. He specifically chose the sunniest corner on the whole square. Why? Because he believed that natural daylight was the only way to show off a diamond's real fire. He wasn't just a jeweler, he was quite literally the jeweler of light.
So, how did this obsession with light actually translate into the jewelry itself? Well, we can see it by looking at how Boucheron's creations didn't just reflect the times they were made in. In many ways, they helped define them.
Okay, let's jump in our time machine and go back to 1905. We're at the height of the Belle Époque in France, a time of peace, wealth, and this incredible artistic boom.
And a piece from this era, one that just perfectly captures all that optimism, still managed to fetch over 64,000 pounds at a recent auction. And you can totally see why. The floral designs, that delicate little pear-shaped drop, it's just pure optimism and artistry, a perfect reflection of Frédéric Boucheron's creativity during what was really a golden age.
Now, let's fast forward 2 decades to the Roaring '20s, and whoa, the style has completely changed. This is the Art Deco period, and it's all about bold geometric shapes and serious glamour.
And this pendant? It shows how Boucheron was right at the cutting edge of that movement. Its appeal is timeless. I mean, it sold for nearly 60,000 pounds.
But here's what's so cool about this piece. It totally captures that modern, glamorous Art Deco vibe, but it also gives a little nod to the past. The pendant itself is from 1925, but it's paired with a chain from 1890. It's the perfect example of the brand blending its own history with the very latest thing.
But some pieces were more than just beautiful. They were making a statement. A big one. The Dragonfly tiara from 1909, yeah, this was not for the faint of heart.
And that cultural importance is definitely reflected in its jaw-dropping auction price of over 200,000 pounds.
Let's be clear, this was not your grandmother's tiara. It was designed for the modern, so-called radical woman of the early 20th century. It totally broke away from those stuffy Victorian styles, and instead it embraced nature and movement. It was a symbol of changing times, of female empowerment, worn like a badge of modernity.
So we've seen the history and these incredible iconic pieces. But the Boucheron legend is built on so much more than just stunning design. It's about an absolute, unwavering commitment to quality and a culture that is just completely unique. Just take their diamond standard. Boucheron actually created its very own rating system based on clarity and color. They score every single stone out of 100. And here's the kicker. If a diamond scores below 90, they just don't use it. End of story. Talk about a ruthless dedication to perfection. And then there's the personality. You've got to meet Latimer, the house cat, who basically became a superstar. He lived in the store, he starred in ad campaigns, literally draped in jewels, and he became so iconic that he inspired entire collections of cat-themed jewelry that are still bestsellers today.
Of course, you can't talk about Boucheron without talking about royalty. I mean, from the Russian imperial court to the Maharaja of Patiala, who famously showed up with chests full of gems to be set, all the way to the British royal family. Queen Elizabeth got a Boucheron piece for her 18th birthday, and Queen Consort Camilla still wears their jewelry today. This isn't just about making pretty things, it's about becoming part of royal history.
So, let's bring it all together. We started with a multi-million-pound price tag, but as you can see, the real value here is so much deeper. It's really about how a brand becomes a true icon.
Think about it. It started with one man's vision, and now it's a global powerhouse inside the Kering luxury group. The scale has changed, for sure. But what's amazing is what hasn't changed. That core identity built on creativity, boldness, and that undeniable Parisian spirit.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. We know what their diamonds and sapphires are worth, but when you look at the whole story, the vision, the innovation, the cultural impact, you have to ask yourself, for a brand like Boucheron, is history itself its most valuable jewel?